Spiritual awakening, a term that's been gaining popularity in recent years, especially among those seeking a deeper sense of purpose and connection. But what does it really mean to experience a spiritual awakening? Is it a profound, life-changing moment, or just a fleeting feeling of euphoria? In today's video, we're going to explore the concept of spiritual awakening, separating fact from fiction, and delving into the personal stories and scientific studies that attempt to explain this enigmatic phenomenon. The idea of a spiritual awakening is often shrouded in mystery, leading many to view it with a healthy dose of skepticism. Can we really trust these claims of profound transformation? Or are they simply the result of a vivid imagination or a desire for attention? As we embark on this journey, I want to stress that we're not here to judge or proclaim any absolute truths, but rather to explore the complexities and nuances of this fascinating topic. In an age where social media dominates our lives, it's easy to get caught up in the hype surrounding spiritual awakenings. We're bombarded with Instagram posts, YouTube videos, and influencer endorsements, all promising a quick fix to our existential crises. But is this really what spiritual awakening is all about? Or are we just scratching the surface of something much deeper and more profound? As we navigate the labyrinth of spiritual awakening, we'll encounter a multitude of perspectives, each one shedding light on a different aspect of this multifaceted phenomenon. From the scientific community to ancient cultural traditions, we'll examine the various approaches that attempt to explain the unexplainable. Let's tackle some of the most common misconceptions surrounding spiritual awakenings. One of the biggest myths is that they're only reserved for the select few, the chosen ones who have been deemed worthy of this profound experience. But what if I told you that spiritual awakenings can happen to anyone, at any time, and in the most unexpected ways? Another misconception is that spiritual awakenings are somehow separate from our daily lives. We often view them as these grand, dramatic events that occur in isolation, when in reality, they can be the culmination of years of self-reflection, personal growth, and dedication. It's not just about having a flashy, Instagram-worthy moment, it's about embracing a new way of living, one that's rooted in awareness, compassion, and love. Many people believe that spiritual awakenings are purely emotional experiences, devoid of any rational or logical basis. But what about the countless scientific studies that have attempted to quantify and measure the effects of spiritual experiences on our brains and bodies? From altered states of consciousness to increased feelings of empathy and compassion, the empirical evidence is undeniable. Others argue that spiritual awakenings are solely the domain of Eastern mysticism, reserved for guru-like figures who have spent decades meditating in the Himalayas. But what about the countless stories of spiritual awakenings that have occurred in the most mundane of settings, on a busy street corner, in the midst of a chaotic workday, or during a quiet moment of introspection? Then there are those who claim that spiritual awakenings are nothing more than a form of escapism, a way to avoid the harsh realities of our world. But what if I told you that true spiritual awakenings are not about avoiding the darkness, but about confronting it head-on, with courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to grow? Some believe that spiritual awakenings are only for the privileged few, those who have the luxury of devoting their lives to spirituality. But what about the countless stories of people from all walks of life who have experienced profound spiritual awakenings, despite their circumstances? We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with conflicting information, opinions, and perspectives. It's easy to get caught up in the noise and lose sight of what truly matters. But what if I told you that spiritual awakenings are not about adding more noise to the mix, but about finding the silence, the stillness, and the clarity amidst the chaos? Another common misconception is that spiritual awakenings are somehow separate from our physical bodies. We often view them as purely mental or emotional experiences, when in reality, they can have a profound impact on our physical well-being. From the release of endorphins to the activation of our parasympathetic nervous system, the physiological effects of spiritual experiences are undeniable. The internet is filled with stories of spiritual awakenings that have allegedly led to extraordinary abilities, from telepathy to telekinesis. But what if I told you that true spiritual awakenings are not about developing supernatural powers, but about cultivating compassion, empathy, and a deeper sense of connection with the world around us? Some believe that spiritual awakenings are only for the highly evolved, the spiritually advanced, or the enlightened ones. But what if I told you that true spiritual awakenings are not about reaching some mythical state of enlightenment, but about embracing our humanity, with all its frailties, imperfections, and vulnerabilities? And then there are those who claim that spiritual awakenings are somehow separate from our relationships, our careers, or our daily lives. But what if I told you that true spiritual awakenings are not about isolating ourselves from the world, but about integrating our newfound awareness into every aspect of our lives? We've all heard stories of spiritual awakenings that have allegedly led to miraculous healings, from chronic illnesses to life-threatening diseases. But what if I told you that true spiritual awakenings are not about relying on some magic pill or miracle cure, but about cultivating a deep sense of self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-love? Some believe that spiritual awakenings are only for those who have reached rock bottom, who have hit some kind of spiritual crisis. But what if I told you that true spiritual awakenings can occur at any moment, whenever we're open to receiving them, regardless of our circumstances? From the moment we're born, we're conditioned to view the world through a particular lens, one that's shaped by our culture, upbringing, and experiences. But what if I told you that spiritual awakenings offer us a chance to see the world anew, to challenge our assumptions, and to embrace a fresh perspective? As we delve deeper into the realm of spiritual awakenings, we begin to realize that they're not just about personal experiences, but about the collective evolution of humanity. They're not just about individual growth, but about the growth of our communities, our societies, and our world. Now let's explore some personal stories, scientific studies, and cultural perspectives that shed light on the phenomenon of spiritual awakenings. From the ancient mystical traditions of the East to the modern-day neuroscience of the West, we'll examine the various approaches that attempt to explain the unexplainable. One of the most fascinating aspects of spiritual awakenings is their ability to transcend cultural boundaries, religious affiliations, and socioeconomic divides. They're not limited to any particular group or demographic, but can occur in the most unexpected ways at any moment. In many indigenous cultures, spiritual awakenings are seen as a normal part of life, a natural progression on the path to spiritual maturity. From the vision quests of Native American shamans to the initiatory rituals of African tribes, these experiences are woven into the fabric of daily life. In the Western world, we often view spiritual awakenings as something extraordinary, something that sets us apart from the rest. But what if I told you that true spiritual awakenings are not about seeking special treatment or recognition, but about embracing our shared humanity with all its vulnerabilities and strengths? One of the most compelling aspects of spiritual awakenings is their ability to challenge our existing beliefs and worldviews. They force us to question our assumptions, to confront our biases, and to embrace a more nuanced perspective on reality. In the realm of neuroscience, researchers have made groundbreaking discoveries about the neural correlates of spiritual experiences. From the default mode network to the neurotransmitter systems, we're beginning to understand the intricate mechanisms that underlie these profound experiences. As we explore the realm of spiritual awakenings, we begin to realize that they're not just about individual experiences, but about the collective evolution of humanity. They're not just about personal growth, but about the growth of our communities, our societies, and our world. One of the most remarkable aspects of spiritual awakenings is their ability to bring people together, to transcend borders and boundaries, and to foster a sense of global unity. They remind us that, despite our differences, we're all connected, we're all human, and we're all part of something much greater than ourselves. Let's take a closer look at a powerful personal testimony that illustrates the profound effects of a spiritual awakening. This is a story of transformation, of courage, and of the human spirit's capacity to overcome even the most daunting challenges. Meet Sarah, a young woman who had been struggling with depression and anxiety for years. Despite her best efforts, she felt stuck, trapped in a cycle of negativity and self-doubt. That was until she had a profound spiritual awakening, one that changed her life forever. Sarah's experience was unlike anything she had ever encountered before. It was as if she had been transported to a different realm, one where time and space were irrelevant. In this state, she felt a deep sense of connection to the universe, to herself, and to everything around her. The effects of Sarah's spiritual awakening were profound. She began to see the world in a new light, one that was full of color, beauty, and possibility. She felt a sense of purpose and direction, one that guided her towards a life of meaning and service. But Sarah's experience wasn't just about her. It was about the ripple effect it had on those around.